Hey everybody, Greg Heilman here with the Sound on Stage. Today we're going behind the curtain with Giese French, one of the founders of As If Theater, and also director of their upcoming show Colder Than Here, running on stage at the Kenmore Community Center from March 14th through the 30th. Cindy, we met a few times before. It's nice to actually get a chance to sit down and talk to you.
You as well.
We met at our awards ceremony back in September.
Which was fabulous, by the way.
Yeah,
Got to go next year.
Yeah, we're working, we're ruminating over what to, how, the details around that. So more on that later, but we're obviously here to talk about Colder Than Here. But first, since you're a founder of As If Theater, if you could just go into a little bit of detail, we'll save the rest for maybe a more in-depth get to know a theater segment, but a little history of the theater, how you guys came together to form it, and then how long you've been around, and then we'll get to talk about the next show.
Okay. Well, we got together by happenstance. I had decided that I had found a play, The Clean House, that I wanted to produce, and of course I wanted to be in it, because why wouldn't I? So Amy, Gentry, and I had both decided that we were going to be in this show, so we needed to find a venue. And we did. It's not so easy to find a venue, and especially it's kind of like wedding venue shopping, where you definitely have to do it at least a year in advance, because people gobble them up. And my cousin had suggested I check out the Kenmore Community Club. So we went down there, and David Evans, who was the president at the time, we looked at the space, and we thought, yeah, this is doable. And he said, we're kind of looking for a theater company to come into this area. And Amy and I were like, okay, Well, we were just doing the one show. So we just toddled off to the 9 brewery next door. And we sat, and we literally said, do you want to start a theater company? And we grabbed Molly Hall, who was the other of our little tripod, that we've always talked about opening a women-led theater company, and it was that quickly, that fast, 20 minutes, and we were like, okay, we're just going to open it. So did the logo, got the name that day, sitting at that brewery, we decided on As If Theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I have known. I mean, you've got quite a little following. Every show I've been to there
that makes me so happy.
It's decently attended. There's not a ton of seats there, but there's enough people that fill them up every time I've been there. So it's a nice space, the Kenmore Community Center, and it is interesting you mentioned that your location, because you're sort of between Edmonds and Seattle. I guess there's sort of a void there, which you guys I think have filled pretty nicely.
Thank you. Yeah, and over on the east side, because that's when we were looking at the location is, you've got some things happening in Kirkland, but you don't have like theater companies that are with their schedule. There's a couple. So we just thought this is such a good location, not to mention it's 5 minutes from my house. That does help.
Well, is there we should save that question. I was going to ask about a general philosophy of programming that you guys have.
Okay.
You have some very fun shows, like you did last year. But now Colder Than Here is not necessarily I guess it's listed as a comedy, but when you read about it,
yeah, it doesn't seem so like, yeah.
So you want to talk about that and maybe about the show in general, Colder Than Here, and how it maybe fits into your programming philosophy. That's probably a better way to ask it.
Okay, so I think if people look back on our shows, except for Sweet Surrender, which was like a ribald farce, but also had heart. So
True.
That's kind of what we base our programming off of. Is does it have a good message to it? Is it happy and sad? Is it just this beautiful conflux of emotions where it might spur conversation when you leave the door? It's all kind of this, and I think Colder Than Here especially, I felt the same way about Cry It Out, where a lot of people were like, I don't want to go see a play about parents. I am a parent. It's not fun. Who wants to watch that? But in the same respect, it's a story that needed to be told. And this one is about a woman dying of cancer, which doesn't seem like so fun, but it's a story that needs to be told. And it's beautiful, and it's moving, and it's funny. It's all of that. It's our little recipe of we want people to feel.
Yeah. Well, I found that with The Foreigner last year it was funny, but it was also one of those when you take it away, you go away from it and you think, boy, that was kind of heavy. And, such a great juxtaposition of those two emotions, which really make each of them hit harder. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you tell something heavy with comedy, it makes that heavy stuff hit harder.
Totally agree.
So when did this show come into your purview?
So Amy, we read plays throughout the year, and oftentimes we'll look at it and say, okay, first off, can we do it in the space? Because we're hampered. Mm-hmm. We can't drill into the floors. It is a historic building, so we're a little hampered in what we can do. And then can we physically do it? And then it hits, does it matter? So she had thrown the script my way, and I read it, and I immediately went, oh, that's good. But I always have to put it away for a while and think about it and keep reading. And then the question is it still talking to me after that? And then I'll read it again. And at that point, I just go, I love this play, and I think it needs to be seen.
As a director, and I'm just thinking from the context of reading a book, when you read a book, you get these images in your head of what you think it looks like. Do you do the same thing as a director? When you're reading a script, do you start to form images of what you think the set's going to look like, kind of some of the design aspects of it?
I do because I have to, because I already know what the space is. So I have to look at it and say, is this, the way that this play is set up is that it's set in two different locations. Well, one living room of the family and then numerous cemetery locations. So one thing I don't love is long scene changes. So how do you work the space so that you can have that and have it be relatively seamless? Obviously, the lights are going to have to go out and you're going to have to move some set pieces. But so we're using the little stage up above. And then I do think, how are we going to work this? Will there be walls? Will there be, how realistic are you going to go? But the beauty is that you get a good set designer and then they take care of it. That's my favorite part.
Fair enough. And you and I are on the same page there. If anybody who's read any of my reviews have seen where I've called out long, enduring set changes that just ruin the flow of a show, and I'd rather have less set pieces and have a better flow than have something more complicated that's going to require us to, check our watches and see, what's happening.
That's when the audience starts making noise and the stage manager's like, faster, faster.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And in a space like you're at, there's no wings or anything like that. So it's all got to be done right there on stage. Yeah,
and there's not it's a hall, so it's not like you have lots of little nooks and crannies to hide things in too. So we're really, we'll curtain some off so we have some space, but we have to be economic in how we use everything.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the cast of the show.
Well, I'm in love with my cast. I think every director says that, but I'm the one that really means it. We do have Amy. She's playing Myra, who is the mother who has got secondary bone cancer and has been told that she has a certain amount of time to live. And then we've got Bradley Goodwill, who is I've wanted to work with him for a long time, and I'm so happy that he's on this project. He plays Myra's husband.
Okay.
And Katie Driesen, who plays Harriet, one of the daughters, and Josephine Cessna, who plays Jenna. So they're so good. And so it makes my job very easy, although it's really super hard. But it makes it easy they take direction well, they understand their characters, and and of course we have to do a Brummie accent. So I say I'm not doing the accent, but they had to learn an entirely new accent, which is like a Birmingham accent. If you've seen Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the accent.
Am I going to go away, with nightmares like I do when I watch Peaky
Yeah,
Blinders right before
it's going to be
bed?
the big gun scene that'll take you down. But we also, just recently, so we just got off book, and the same day that we got off book, I say we again, like it's me, like I'm suffering.
The royal we.
The royal we is the first day that we had to do food, food is really hard on stage because you don't want to be, you have to kind of figure out, how am I going to swallow? How am I talking? My line is now, but my mouth full. And poor Josephine eats throughout the whole thing. And finally I was like, you just got to talk. Just go talk through it. So if you have food issues of watching people chew, maybe not the show for you.
All right. There's no splash zone or anything at first?
No, but we might need one. So if you get the little paper or the little plastic sheet, you'll know.
So do you have, for those accents, do you have a dialect coach, or have you
We
left?
do,
Okay.
yeah. Mariana DeFazio, who we've used multiple times. I've been coached by her, and we've hired her numerous times to coach. She's wonderful. It's such an important job because really, I just want people to sound the same. You don't want it to be like the Brummie accent and some person come in like, "How you doing?" It's like, that's gonna throw people out of the.
Yeah.
So she can hear that, and she has wonderful materials, and then she'll come in and watch us and just kind of give line notes, watch, you want your crisp T's here and this, that, and the other thing. So she's been very important. Again, just getting good people behind you.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've noticed with accents, when we talk about sets, one of the things that always gets me with accents is how sometimes they differ at the beginning of a show versus the end of a show. You just, because I guess you get into it, you focus on it when you start. And I should talk. I've been in a few shows.
So do you think they're better at the beginning than at the
Yes,
end?
in a lot of cases.
Like they get tired. They're like, I can't do it
Yeah,
anymore.
or sometimes in if the stress level of a show or a scene increases, maybe the accent change because you're focusing on something different. You're focusing on the emotion rather than the accent. Like I was saying, I'm one to talk. I was in 2 shows where I used an English accent, and I was probably horrendous. But
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe you were brilliant. Maybe people couldn't understand you because you really were British.
I doubt it. That's why I'm on this side of the thing, at this point. And then, so on the creative side, so you've got Marianne DeFazio. You are obviously the director. Who do we
Yes.
have as your set designer? You mentioned the...
Set design, we have Chandria Donnell, who is working on things, and we're looking at doing projections for the cemetery scenes because they're all different, which is going to be fun. We're going to go cemetery shopping later and take some
yay.
video. I know. And so, yeah, she's tasked with some, how do we fit a projector on that small stage with actors? So, I don't know, people could fall off. Now it's turned into kind of a dangerous show. Something you want to see.
Well, one thing I've noticed in Sweet Surrender and in The Foreigner and some of the other shows I've seen there, where you do creatively design, lights and sound. You're in kind of this finite space, but I think you've found ways to creatively do light and sound to, for the context of the setting where you are versus sounds at various different spots on the stage. So, is there someone? Well, obviously you have a lighting and sound designer.
We do.
Are these typically people that you like with Marianne and some of the other ones that you use over and over again because
Yes.
they've been successful? You have a good working relationship with them.
We do. We love Gwyn Scone as our lighting designer, and he's also British, so he can help when we have questions about being British. He's very good at that.
He can be your swing, too.
He's our swing. Yeah, we're like, you're going on. Put him in a house coat. He's ready to go. He's wonderful, and I can say something in gobbledygook, and he can somehow transcribe that into this beautiful look. So it's fun to. He puts so much thought and consideration into it. Like, what is the time of the day? What is the weather? That's what he goes for to get the right look. And it'll be subtle to an audience, but it's not subtle to us. Like, to me, it's like, oh yeah, I like that. That's good.
Yeah, in a way, it's sound and light are two of those things that, in a way, you don't want them to stand out. Because if they stand out, then they're they feel deliberate or they feel just out of place. But when they're subtle like that and they fit in, it just all feels right. So it sounds like a cast of 4. Sounds like you have more creative people. Than
Well, we do, and I would be remiss not to mention our sound designer,
yes.
which he's so good I married him. But I married him earlier. No, that's William French, who he was nominated for 2 of your awards.
Yes, yeah.
For my favorite thing is he makes original music for us. So anything that you hear throughout, there's one piece where it's Brahms, Hungarian dances. That's one piece that you'll hear in the show, but everything else will be created. Every transition, opening show, closing is something that he's created. So he's been busily working at that downstairs, and I'm hearing a lot of really good stuff.
Nice.
And if, like I said, when that's subtle, and you just want to lift a moment a little bit, and then you have something that's kind of creeping in, so good.
Yeah, most definitely. Also, one of the categories we're adding to our awards this year, when we have them, is going to be for stage manager. So I always like to call out stage managers. They're super important and a lot of times overlooked.
Very much so.
So how
They
about...
are the show.
So let's call it your stage manager for this show.
Stacey Hansen, Hansen, fabulous. She's wonderful. She is part of As If Theater in our core group now, core leadership. She is our technical director. But as a stage manager, she is calm under pressure. And she was in The Cake. You saw The Cake?
I did not see The Cake.
Oh, so good. So she was stage manager for The Cake, and sometimes you don't know what you're missing until you're in the risers, because usually you're just rehearsing in a room, and then you go, oh, the sight lines for this is horrible. And of course, we went through 2 shows, and the whole time I'm thinking, we have to fix this. And so I just texted her on Saturday morning, and I said, we need to raise the bed. And she goes, I'll be there at 1. And so she built me a bed before the show that evening and just lifted it up. We used an old riser dolly. It was ridiculous. We duct tape. Our whole theater is put together with duct tape and binder clips. That's the whole thing. Nice. So yes, she's wonderful. We also have Mary Sen, who is our diva alongside Molly Hall. Yeah. And she's assistant directing. So it's been fun. We've had a lot of good energy.
Very cool. Yeah, there's so much local talent. You mentioned being part of kind of the creative, process. There's so much talent locally.
It's amazing
here. Yeah, it really is, and it's nice to see them have a forum and a creative environment in which they can thrive and hopefully, move ahead and do bigger and better things.
I have one other. We have Amy Hockman is doing our costumes, whom you might remember as the winner of the Highland and Haver Awards.
Yeah. She was also the costume designer for a show I saw this past weekend for Trouble in Mind at Beer and Actors Theater.
That's right. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, which is another good show. Look out for my review on that coming out in the next couple of days. Or by the time you see this, it's probably already been out. So, Colder Than Here opens March 14th in a couple of weeks. I believe I'm coming out... Am I coming out for opening night? I might be there on opening night.
Yeah, we might have some British food available on opening night.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I think we're going to do a little dictionary of British terms so people can understand some of the things that they're saying, like a burglar's dog. You know what that is?
I have no idea, other than
if somebody tells you look like a burglar's dog, you just walk away. It's essentially what a dog would look like owned by a burglar because they would beat it.
Okay.
Yeah, little fun fact.
English.
Yeah.
So what's next after this for both you and for the As If Theater Company?
Yeah, well, we've got some new stuff that we're working on. We've got our short play festival, which I love because it's just ridiculous. We do that every summer, and that's 8 new plays by 8 local artists, performed by 12 or 13 actors, and we'll always have a fun prompt. So we have a prompt that I have to get permission to use, and then we're ready to go with that. We also have a new play development workshop that we've been working on for all year. So we bringing these same actors in with the playwright, Gretchen Dauma, and trying to develop it into something where, hopefully we can have a small production of it. And it's been great. It's so fun to be on that end of the spectrum at the very development part of it.
Yeah.
And to see it grow and to see people understand it. So and then fingers crossed, we're starting an improv group.
Oh.
I know. So watch out. It'll be yes and.
So the show, again, Colder Than Here, March 14th through 30th at the Kenmore Community Center. Director Cindy Giese French, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
We'll have to make this a regular thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and go see theater, everybody. People need it. They need
Yes.
an audience.
And what is your favorite show, either play or musical?
Well, I have felt this way since I was 16, and I can't get away from it. It will always be Sweeney Todd. But it would have to be Angela Lansbury and Len Cariou. Yeah.
Well, why not?
Exactly. And go for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So cool. There you hear it right here. Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd.
Best musical ever.